What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Double video. There's going to be the Chargers flashback review will be coming out a little bit later today. I'll push it ahead because news just dropped. We talk about football. We like to talk about the Eagles, but when there's big football news, big free agency signings, I always like to try to give my initial reaction. And the first big domino of free agency has fell, and that is J.J. Watt. No longer the Houston Texans. Thank God he got out of Houston. I hope Deshaun can get out of Houston as soon as possible. But J.J. Watt has signed a 2-year, $31 million deal with the Arizona Cardinals. As we know right now, it's $23 million guaranteed. But Arizona kind of came out of nowhere. There was really three teams everyone was kind of thinking he was leaning towards: Green Bay, Cleveland, and the Buffalo Bills. I thought Buffalo would have been just the best landing spot for him. I think that would have been great for the Bills fan base to get like a true superstar who's still, I mean, he's on the downswing of his career, but J.J. Watt is still at minimum like a top 10 edge rusher defense. Well, he's more of a, whatever you want to classify, edge rusher defensive end. I still think he's top 10 in the NFL, and he's going to be first ballot Hall of Fame. This is a massive get for the Arizona Cardinals. J.J. Watt has been pretty damn good, I think, over the last couple of years as well. Even though he's been battling injury and he's starting to stack up some healthy seasons, some healthy games. I mean, he's 32. Well, I mean, what's going to be your, you know, what's going to be your goal here for a 32-year-old J.J. Watt? Are you going to be hoping for 10 sacks? Like, you know, he has 9 sacks the last 2 years. This year, COVID, 2020, whatever we want to call it, but he still only had 5 sacks. And I don't want to say he's a shell of his former self. Maybe there's a slight worry that, like, you know, that you're buying the name of J.J. Watt from 3 years ago and not the J.J. Watt that he's been the last 2 years. But then it's like, all right, Houston hasn't been particularly good, and he's lost a lot of support on that Houston Texan defense. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney bounced, lost DJ Reader. Those are important key pieces. So, you know, I think ultimately I'm excited. If you're a Cardinals fan, you should definitely be excited. What does it mean for the Cardinals for the rest of the free agency, though? That's going to be intriguing because you have Pat Pete, you have Kenyon Drake, Devondre Campbell, Marcus Golden, Hassan Riddick, all set to be free agents. Drake Kirkpatrick is there. In terms of like guys who like, you know, Dan Arnold, they might want to throw a little bit of cash at Dan Arnold. He's been a nice, you know, depth tight end piece, good receiving weapon for them. But I think that this kind of probably spells that they won't have the money to re-sign Hassan Riddick, which is, I think, would be a little bit frustrating. If I was a Cardinal fan, I definitely would like to re-sign Hassan Riddick because obviously you invested a huge draft capital in the first round a couple years ago when you drafted him at a Temple. And finally, after all the different changes in defensive coordinators, he finally put it all together for you guys last year. And it would just feel annoying that, like, all right, we finally got him where we wanted him. He's finally starting to play like a first-round pick and not be able to re-sign him. Looking at their salary cap right now, it looks like they got about $17 million. I don't know if that's before or after the J.J. Watt contract. I'm also going to assume here, from what I'm looking at on Spot Rack, that it is including that. So maybe they could have money. Like, I absolutely would try to re-sign Hassan Riddick. And I guess if you can't re-sign Hassan Riddick, you could probably get Marcus Golden at a cut rate cost to play on the opposing side of Chandler Jones. And the fact that, you know, while, you know, Pat Pete's intriguing in terms of, like, now that J.J. Watt's there, will Pat Pete give you guys a hometown discount to return for one more year? Because his play is kind of dwindled, but he's still an outside starting corner in the NFL. But I feel like the idea of J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones on the same like that is not fun, right? You got Jordan Phillips, who's solid, right? You got obviously the Swiss Army knife piece of Isaiah Simmons, who finally started to put it all together a little bit later in the year last year. Took a little long, but he finally started upping his snap counts and he started producing. You got Budda Baker, who might be the best free safety in the NFL. I had him at probably the midway point of last year, arguably leading the Defensive Player of the Year voting, in my opinion. You have Byron Murphy, second-round pick, 2019, that's starting to emerge here out of the shadows of Pat Pete to being the number 1 corner for the Cardinals there. So I think the Cardinals' defense is very good, and now you have someone in J.J. Watt that the hype's going to be real. No matter what we could say about what version of J.J. Watt the Cardinals are getting, the hype for this Cardinals team is going to be real. And I can now kind of take this from the approach of an NFC team as the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't like it. I would have loved for him to stay in the AFC. But the Eagles are going to suck next year. So I almost have to view it from the scope of other teams within the West. I mean, you have the Seattle Seahawks right now, what the hell's going on with Russell Wilson? Are they actually going to trade him? Is there actually some validity to that? Who knows? Most likely, probably not. But so, right now, the Seahawks look shaky. You have the 49ers who are like, oh, they're rumored to try to be traded for Teddy Bridgewater. That's like the ultimate lateral move. You have issues with your quarterback being a game manager, and you need a quarterback that can elevate and take your offense to the next level, and you're trying to get Teddy Bridgewater. So the 49ers look a little shaky. And then and also on top of that, the 49ers, they're getting depleted. Like Richard Sherman's not coming back. The salary cap is pretty tight, so the free agents that they're set to bounce, they're gone. So then it just pretty much leaves you with the LA Rams. Obviously, the Rams' hype is insane. They just landed Matt Stafford. You got what you think is the quarterback that could take you to the next level. They realize what the Niners are probably going to burn another year trying to figure out. They're like, if your quarterback just doesn't got it, he just doesn't got it. And you got to try to do whatever you can to move on from that. And I think, and I'm not trying to discredit, I think that the West is going to be absolutely absurd in terms of talent. Seattle, if Russell Wilson stays there, you have Russell Wilson. You have a guy that's always an MVP candidate. So they're going to be good as long as Russ is there. Because you got DK, you got Lockett, you got everything there. So the Niners are really good. They're still Kyle Shanahan's offense. They got explosive playmakers. They got a good defense, even though it's going to be interesting to see what they're like without Robert Saleh. You have the Rams, who just got Matt Stafford, kind of going all in. You still got Prime Donald, Prime Jalen Ramsey. And then now you throw in the Cardinals, who were kind of... I mean, they were exciting to watch last year. You know, Kyler Murray had, I don't know if I want to say he had a breakout season. He was hella good in fantasy football. But you still saw Kyler Murray being like, man, this guy here is really, really close to being a superstar. And you saw Cliff Kingsbury. Maybe you had more questions than answers for Cliff Kingsbury at the end of the season if you were a Cardinal fan. Like, is he actually going to be the guy? Or is he just kind of a little too gimmicky from his college days, his college offense, and we might need to go somewhere else? But still, you look at the offense there. You got DeAndre Hopkins. You got Kyler Murray. Kenyon Drake's probably not coming back, which is fine because I think Chase Edmonds was the better of the two running backs last season. You throw in the fact that, man, hopefully Larry comes back for one more year. You know, if they get J.J. Watt, I think that'll get Larry to come back for 1 year. I'm not going to say league minimum, but, that'd be dirty. That'd be dirty if Larry wants to come back and the Cardinals are like, we can't afford you. Now that they got J.J., now that they're trying to gear up for a run a little bit. The Cardinals are going to be dangerous, man. How Vance Joseph uses J.J. Watt, it's going to be good. Got some young dogs there. Chandler Jones, it's going to be help. Like, the staggering thing is knowing that J.J. Watt got paid top-tier dollar, and you look at his last 2 years for the Houston Texans, they weren't particularly good, but you're going to have a lot more talent. Like, just the idea, like, Chandler Jones is the best edge rusher that J.J. Watt's ever played with, like, to complement his game. And that's absolutely shots fired at Jadeveon Clowney, because Jadeveon Clowney took a super dirty hit to Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz was never the same quarterback. You scrambled his brains up. Jadeveon Clowney's an absolute clown. So now he has Chandler Jones, Chandler Jones, one of the most underrated edge rushers in the NFL. And they can find a way to re-sign Hassan Riddick, Chandler Jones, and J.J. Watt. Good night. Good night. And then you throw in Jordan Phillips, who's very legit. Makes everyone else around him better. Good night. Congrats, Cardinals fans. Early winners you were winners of the offseason last year for getting DeAndre Hopkins for pennies on the dollar. And now you just continue the pillage of Houston Texans. What's next? Are you going to flip Kyler Murray for Deshaun Watson? Do it. That'd be fun. That'd be great. But I definitely want to hear from the Arizona Cardinal fans that check this out. What do you feel about J.J. Watt? Are you happy? Are you excited? Does it feel like your team's trying to go all in on a Super Bowl? Or are you a little bit more pessimistic? A little bit more like, that's a lot of money for a guy whose talent, it's J.J. Watt. Peak J.J. Watt was the best defensive player I've seen, and that is including Aaron Donald. Very close, 1A, 1B, but I think like that peak, I can't remember what year it was. I thought J.J. Watt 100% should have been the MVP. He didn't get it. Did it go to Aaron Rodgers or something like that? I can't remember what year it went, but it's still J.J. Watt at the end of the day. And that's a good get, man. That's a good get for the Cardinals free agency. The first big domino has fallen. I can't wait for Philadelphia to sign Jacoby Brissett, and that'll break the internet. But until that time, enjoy it. Enjoy it, Cardinals fans. And I definitely want to hear what you guys think about it. Texan fans, how do you feel about it? If you're a fan of any other team in the NFC or the NFC West, how do you feel about it? Let me know in the comment section below. That'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. Until next time, it's C4 saying peace out, and congrats to J.J. Watt, and I'm very sorry for Buffalo Bills fans. I should have went to Buffalo. They should have went to Buffalo.